Hello. So the topic of our presentation is the numerical analysis of the 2021 Texas power crisis. My name is Dana Nugent.
I'm Matthew Hepburn. And I'm Simon Schoenbeck.
Okay, the overview of our project, we decided to estimate the Texas power consumption by numerical integration methods. We did this both on the data set of recorded power usage and predicted power usage. And our three integration methods that we chose were the left and right hand sum method, trapezoid method, and Simpson's method. The motivation behind our project was that in February 2021, Texas experienced a power crisis as a result of a series of winter storms. The unexpected cold weather led to an electricity generation failure that left 4.5 million homes and businesses without power. So we decided to compare how different numerical integration methods would estimate the power consumption in Texas during the crisis. We were also interested in comparing the accuracy of estimates using forecasted demand versus recorded demand. Here is a graph of our data sets. This is both the recorded and forecasted energy demand, and we got our information from the U.S. Energy Information Administration. For our project, we decided to use MATLAB as our language. We performed analysis on reported power consumption data and the predicted consumption data. We implemented the three numerical integration methods that we chose and ran both data sets through these functions. We compared these results to the actual power consumption to measure percent error for each of our estimates. And that is from our numerical integration texaspower.m file, which is our MATLAB file. Here is just a basic understanding of the different numerical algorithms that we chose. The left and right hand sum is just choosing the leftmost or rightmost value for each interval. The trapezoidal method calculates a line between the left-hand and right-hand sum and adds that to each interval. And Simpson's method produces more of a quadratic function to estimate each interval.
For the left-hand side and right-hand side, we did estimates of both the demand and forecast. So shown on the right are column graphs for the power usage on the 14th, which would be a somewhat normal day, and then the 15th, which is the day the blackout occurred. So most of the estimates are fairly close, with the orange ERCO demand megawatt hours being the actual demand recorded for that day. And we have the left-hand side and right-hand side demand estimates, which are fairly close, the right-hand side being a bit closer. And then the forecast estimates, which are higher both on the 14th by a little bit and significantly higher on the 15th. This is because it is useful to have an overestimate on your demand forecast, because it's better to have too much power being generated than too little, but not by too much. But then on the 15th, the power demand significantly dropped, showing that there was an error in the forecast estimate. For trapezoidal, this is the average of the left-hand side and right-hand side, so it produces similar results. On the 14th, the forecast is a bit high and the demand estimate is a bit low compared to the actual numbers, but they're both reasonably close. But then on the 15th, again, we have the forecast being very high and the demand estimate matching similarly to the recorded demand. For Simpson's method, we have similar results as previous methods. We have a slight under estimate on the 14th for the demand and a slight overestimate for the forecast. But then on the 15th, again, this is an abnormal day where the forecast was estimating record high consumption, but there was a blackout. So we had lower demand and the total consumption was lower. And then when we compare estimates for just looking at the demand estimates, on the 14th, all demands were underestimates. This shows that on the 14th, in general, people were consuming more power than usual, or there was an uptick in the consumption over time. So all of our results have similar levels of error. This would have us believe that the error is consistent in the data set. But then we can see on the 15th, this is an abnormal day where we have significantly higher error, and these are all overestimates. This would lead us to believe that On that day, there was a drop in power consumption, and this was caused by the blackout. As we can see, we also have right-hand side and Simpson's rule, which are very similar, and they have the lowest error as they're both closest to zero. For the forecast estimates, we can see that on the 14th, this is again a normal day. There was a slight overestimate, which is good for the system in general. And then we can see that on the 15th, this is an abnormal day where there's a significant amount of error between the forecast and the actual consumption. Again, right-hand side and Simpson's rule are very similar, but this is not a good data point to use when considering which of these to use because the 15th is an abnormal event.
For our results, you can see on the right-hand side that on the 14th, all of our numbers are pretty well in line, about a 1 or 2% difference. There is a slight downward trend in power because at night people generally use less power. But then when you go into the 15th, you can see our error starts to skyrocket due to the overdemand based on not having a blackout, but having a blackout caused the demand forecast to be completely off. All of that but the error is all still consistent, and that implies that there was a data collection error, not an actual error in the estimates. So in conclusion, although our error seems really large, especially on the 15th, it is close to the error that came from ERCO. So we believe that it was a data set error. In our recommendation, the right-hand side and Simpson's method were actually the closest in percentage error. So we would recommend both of those. We would not recommend the left-hand side of the trapezoid. Their error margins were slightly larger. This has been our presentation on the numerical analysis of the 2021 Texas power crisis. Thank you.